Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sherlock. Listen, the podcast that takes a pop at culture.
Oh, very exciting, Benjamin. I've got a tiny hammer because this week we want to bring the hammer down on all those libs. But Ben, we don't have time for any of that because we've loads of stuff to look at. Sorry, I made myself laugh. Including, you've made a mistake, one of your classic mistakes.
Yeah.
And Marvel, still popular in Brazil. So they've done Marvel D23 or D23 as they probably call it there.
That's going to get us in trouble.
No, that's how
Can't do
Brazilian
that.
people say 20, Ben. They say 20.
That's not how they say
So,
20, Michael.
Totally fine.
Stop
They say
that.
20. So anyway, at the D23, they had
Stop.
new trailers for Captain America 4, or as they say in Brazil, Cap. No, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Even he won't do that because Mick wants to run for president
I
in
do,
2028.
someday.
So he won't do
Um,
it. He
so
won't
they had new
alienate
trailers
his
for
voter base.
They had new trailers for Captain America 4, Who's the President, and they had a new trailer for Thunderbolts Asterix, the Asterix, which is now the most interesting asterisks in the world. And Mission Impossible's back, whether you want it or not.
Michael!
What is it?
Sure, listen.
What?
If that wasn't enough, we've had a week, Michael.
Have we?
Well, we haven't, Michael. But our good friends, who we've never slagged on this podcast before, the Americans, have had a week.
The Americans.
The
They've had a bit of a
Americans.
week.
Yeah, so they elected a Satsuma, from what I'm given to understand, Michael.
The
From
annoying
the
orange.
The kind of pinko libtard journals that I read. Something about a Satsuma.
Yeah, very good.
Being voted in. But Michael, they've elected a man who's going to bully the rest of the planet for 4 years. Maybe. If he gets in, Michael. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who's to fucking
Who knows
say?
what's going to happen?
This episode, ladies and gentlemen, comes to you the week after the 2024 US presidential election, where soon-to-be president-elect Donald J. Trump got elected.
Yeah, huge. Benjamin.
Yes.
Benjamin.
Yes.
You know what the listening public should have done instead of voting for Donald J. Trump?
What's that now?
They should have given us a review.
Yeah, one way to fight fascist undertones across your nation, ladies and gentlemen, is to tune in to local homegrown podcasting from two white men and give them a review wherever you listen.
Yeah. We're not fascists, Ben.
We're not well, yet.
Yeah.
Michael.
No, Benjamin, what I said is that we're fashionable.
Oh,
fascist.
that's what it was.
That we're
That's what it
fashionable.
was. I was wondering why you were looking at me funny. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
I've
But
got a grey tee on.
It's very, very smart, Michael. I've got a little knitted jumper.
Of course you do. Yeah, of course you do.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see what we're wearing,
Yes.
don't worry. There are no expensive OnlyFans links in our description, but you can go and watch us on YouTube. Give us a little subscribe. If you're already on YouTube, give us a little subscribe. Go on.
Hello.
Give it a thing. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you too could enjoy that kind of personal, warm hello. If
Hello.
you go over there and follow us there. Or
Yes.
give us a review wherever you listen. Could be on Spotify.
Mm.
Could be on Apple Podcasts.
Could be.
Although we're all a bit annoyed with Apple Podcasts, Michael. Have you heard about this?
Are we? What are we upset about Apple Podcasts for?
Apple Podcasts is taking 15% of
15%?
Patreon subscriptions.
Get the fuck out of here,
They've-
Apple Podcasts. You
Isn't that
absolute
mad?
scumbags.
So if you click through a Patreon on Apple Podcasts, they'll automatically add a 15% charge onto your Patreon subscription.
That's not how it works. It deducts 15% from the Patreon, so the creators themselves have to add 15% on top to make it back up.
Now,
Absolute,
ladies and gentlemen,
absolute rubbish.
if those kinds of tariffs are what you fear, you'll enjoy this week's episode because we're talking about El Presidentes.
Oh, very good. Go on then.
Yeah, very good. So, Michael, it's pretty interesting for us. Now, there are a few Todds and Chads and maybe the occasional Tom over there in the States who are currently looking at this and saying, God damn, foreigners picking on our president ain't none of their business. Unfortunately, America, your global political foreign policy has made the man that you put in charge, and let's face it, Michael, it's usually a man,
Probably should be.
everybody's problem. Everybody's problem.
Right,
Yeah.
look, before we get into this, right, because
No.
this is going to be us, this is going to be more about us attempting to be funny and relevant than about our political views. So I'm going to be sincere for a minute.
Don't
I'm
you
going
dare.
to be sincere
Don't
for
you
a second.
fucking dare.
No, I'm going to be sincere for a second, and I'm going to lay out what I actually think, so that any of this gets clipped out of context, then we need only refer back to the entire episode, and we can say, go back and listen to the entire episode. Here's what I think. This is what I believe, Benjamin. I believe that America got what they deserved. That I believe that Donald Trump is not a model of what you want for US president or what you want for any sort of statesman. But also, I believe that the previous administration were complicit, complicit, I'm going to say complicit, in at least one ongoing genocide. So I don't think that from an international perspective, Donald Trump is the bad guy any more than the incumbents were. I think that, sure, his political beliefs are certainly considerably different from the majority of the Hollywood establishment and the American press, and certainly from the side of American culture that we are most exposed to. But I don't think this is Donald Trump's fault. I think Donald Trump is a symptom of the disease that is American current culture.
Yeah. Look, it's one big diseased, mangy dog. Put it down, ladies and
Put
gentlemen.
the
Call
whole
a
thing
day.
down. Don't be misled into thinking that it's goodies and baddies.
Because
The
they're all
entire
bad, ladies
country
and gentlemen.
is fucking a shit show. That's where I stand, Benjamin. There isn't goodies. The baddies didn't win. The baddies didn't win this time. They're all bad.
Because every 4 years, everybody else loses. That's all she wrote. But it's interesting that you say that, Michael, because I suppose for a lot of international viewers, we do kind of watch with apprehension and nervousness as the next US president is elected. Not because it really changes anything depending on who it is. I suppose that's a fair point to be made, Michael. But it just means that it decides the degree of Americanness we're going to have to deal with for the next 4 years.
I don't think it does, Benjamin. Again, this is a symptom. Donald Trump is not leading this. Donald Trump has only gotten elected twice because that's the overall cultural feeling in America. He is not the root of this issue. This is an issue with the American psyche. And the absolute comical divide in American society at the moment, that they're so divided and so against each other that their elections genuinely boil down to goodies and baddies. Can you imagine if our elections were so divisive here that we were worried the baddies were going to win? Both sides, Ben. Both sides. Imagine if both sides were worried that the baddies were going to win and our lives would be irrevocably ruined by the outcome of an election. Cop yourselves on.
My father made a great point on that, Michael. My father.
Your own very father.
My own very flesh and blood papa.
Yes, go on.
Made a point of this. And he said they just fucking love the drama. They've been primed for it through television, through fucking media, through the kind of stuff they consume. They can't help it. It's every 4 years, it's the end of the world.
It's absolute insanity. It's just idiots shouting at each other. Anyway, Benjamin.
That announces our pivot into the political podcasting space, ladies and gentlemen. This is now Mick Rogan and Ben Peterson coming at you from 2 microphones.
Oh, very good. We'll definitely get more listeners now, Ben. Anyway, Ben, look. It's not that big a deal. Calm yourselves down, America. But what's interesting for us, Ben, is how America, and because most of the popular culture that we consume around American media is American. Sorry, most of the pop culture that we consume around the American president is American media.
Yeah.
So the way the Americans choose to depict their own presidents in fiction is what we're looking at today.
Yeah, that's what we're
Huge.
taking a look at, Michael.
Huge.
Yes, this has become Michael's thing. He likes this word. It's going to pop up a few times, ladies and gentlemen. But I suppose because depictions of US presidents have changed so very, very much with the eras in which they've been represented, we didn't actually get a depiction of a fictional US president until around 1895, Michael.
Get out of here.
Well, we had depictions of post-society presidents.
Mm.
So we had the likes of the final politician of the world in The Last Man by Mary Shelley.
Oh, go on.
In the early 1800s. The Last Man is, of course, a famously recognized today as one of the earliest dystopias. It's about a collapsing society and one man being left on Earth. As the title, The Last Man, might lead you to believe.
Are you thinking about the Omega Man?
I'm not thinking about the Omega Man, Michael, no.
Are you thinking
I'm
about
not.
Why the Last Man? I think you're thinking about Why the Last Man.
Benjamin, I think you're thinking about the 2002 graphic novel,
Yeah.
Why the Last Man.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking of.
That's what I'm thinking of. So the other kind of fictional president that touches on America, Michael, came from an older novel by a guy called Robert Hugh Benson, and that was called Lord of the World.
Oh, go on. I've never heard of him or that.
Him or that. Lord of the World is pretty interesting. It's about a man who rises to power, and everybody loves him. Everybody thinks he's absolutely fucking fab.
Oh, he sounds great. Why can't we vote for him?
They think he's so fab, Michael, that he actually unites the planet.
Oh, wow.
And becomes the titular Lord of the World.
Sounds like a great guy, Benjamin.
But Michael, as with all great satire of politicians, it warns you that you shouldn't trust a single one of the fuckers.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because it turns out, Michael, he's the actual Antichrist.
I knew he was going to be either the Antichrist or a pedophile.
I mean, take your fucking pick, Michael.
One or the other.
Take your fucking pick. And, Michael, come here to me.
What?
They're not really American presidents, but what we do get
Yes.
in 1895, Michael, in one of your favourite and my favourite early novels of spooky horror,
Oh, yeah.
The King in Yellow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, is a mention of President Winthrop. Or
Now, Benjamin,
Winthrop.
that's a real president.
No, President Winthrop. Sorry, not Winthorpe. Winthrop.
Go on.
And Michael, that comes from one of the early stories in the collection, The Repairer of Reputations. I believe it's the first story in the collection, if memory serves, Michael.
And by if memory serves, do you mean you've checked?
Yeah, sure, because research is something we do on this podcast.
This is a heavy research-based podcast, yes.
Oh, can you imagine, Michael? Can you
It'd
imagine?
be so tiring, God.
Who has the fucking time,
No
man?
one.
Who has the fucking time?
We have to make political statements. We don't have time for facts.
But The King in Yellow has one of your favourite tropes, Michael, which is a cursed object that drives you mad.
Oh, good. Is it going to drive the president mad? I hope so.
Well, you see, I think that's one of the interesting things here, Michael, is that The Repairer of Reputations is set around a man who's slowly being driven mad by the King in Yellow.
Oh.
But the
Benjamin
world...
the King in bloody orange, more like it. Bloody orange and bloody navy suits.
With big red ties. But come here to me.
What?
What's interesting here is, in this, he's only really mentioned, and there are three things mentioned around his presidency. One of them is that he has established absolute economic prosperity for the United States following a victory over Germany in territorial expansion. So it's an alternate history, classic.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's been a big old war, and America's won, and it's pretty much solidified the state. Number two, he's achieved three pretty major things, Michael.
Oh, go on.
Number one.
Benjamin.
Yes.
That's more than most bloody presidents. We bloody took them down a peg. There.
Oh, welcome back to Rogan and Peterson, ladies and gentlemen, where we take down the establishment. We drain the swamp
Drain
with
the
barbs.
swamp. Big shout out to Bill Clinton
barbs.
for the Northern Ireland Good Friday Agreement.
Yeah, cheers, lads. Cheers. Here's looking at you. But come here to me. He did 3 things, Michael. He achieves cultural unity. Now, what does that mean, Michael?
Oh, I don't know. That sounds like probably what the Germans wanted to do.
I know, doesn't it just? There's peace, Michael. Peace in our times. It's the best peace. The most wonderful peace. Fantastic if true. So he achieves that. And then, Michael, it's followed up with a secondary line, which is, and we've banished the Jews.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I don't. Benjamin, that was very surprising, and I can't support it.
It's fucking awful, man. It's fucking awful. So obviously Robert W. Chambers is playing with expectations of the president, and he's doing that thing that a lot of early sci-fi and speculative authors are doing, where they pitch the utopia, but to achieve that utopia, Michael, of course, involves a horrific act of either eradication, exclusion, exile, or banishment. And in this particular case is, we have cultural unity now because we got rid of the Jews.
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't even know. This is a landmine it's a minefield of
it's brutal. It's fucking awful, man. So anyway, the other thing that he achieved, Michael, is suicide booths. There are now legally permitted suicide booths up and down America where you can pop on in there if you've had enough and say, right, toodly pip, ka-ching.
Toodly pip, off I go.
So that's what Robert Winthrop managed, or President Winthrop. I don't know if his name is Robert. I'm confusing him with Robert W. Chambers, Michael.
Yeah, it's probably Bobby wins.
But that's what he did. And what he's really tapping into there, Michael, is tapping into 19th century anxieties about nationalism, about xenophobia, and more importantly, about social control. The late 1800s, early 1900s became a period of politics through a microscope, if you want, in terms of the tactics being used, underlying messages. Terrorism and so, Winthrop is great in that he kind of symbolizes the underlying double-edged sword of political promises, where one group will go, "Oh fuck, did I get it wrong? What did I get wrong?"
No, I'm just saying one edge. Fix all the problems. The second edge, get rid of the Jews. I don't know. I don't know if that's a great double-edged sword, Ben.
So this is kind of it's the inherent unfairness of a political promise, as in, we'll do this, but it'll cost this group this. This group wants this, but it might cost this group an awful lot more.
Ben, is there an implication in this book that does he solve all the world's problems and then get rid of the Jews, or does getting rid of the Jews solve all the world's problems?
I can't remember which.
How
way it
racist
goes.
is this book?
But
is what I'm asking.
I feel like it's extra racist. I feel like it's the latter rather than the former. Now,
fucking hell.
Hang on. To be very clear, Robert Chambers 100% knew what he was doing. He was skewering the notion of a political promise.
Okay, good. Okay.
So it's not what you think, Michael.
It's not a little bit of a secret manifesto.
No, it's not. It's not My Struggle by Robert W. Chambers.
Okay,
no,
good.
We don't have any of that. But it is kind of also a way to create the unreliable narrator in the main character of that story, who is slowly going mad. You know, he thinks it's great because he's a military man. He has a military station within the text, and it just. I suppose if you were reading it back then, you might go, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ." Hopefully, Michael, when you were reading it, you go, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ."
Hopefully, bit of a literary awareness. Ben, it probably goes to show you that no matter what, you shouldn't think that everything the president does is good or bad. You should probably try and have a little think about it.
Yeah, Michael, because you're not a sports team. It's a fucking political leader. For Christ's sake, you're supposed to criticize them. You're supposed to hold them to a higher standard. Now, Michael, we're speaking in a country that's voted Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil for the last 100 fucking years. Yeah. So what the fuck do we know?
I have to say, though, Ben, you have to say how many people's blood does Leo Varadkar have on his hands? I would have to say relatively
at least
few.
six. At
Yeah,
least
I mean,
six.
some mental health crisis people maybe, and some homeless
Some
people
homeless
probably.
people. Yeah.
But no wars, to his credit.
To his credit, Harris
Yeah.
might still do it. He might pull it out of the bag. We might
He
get
might.
a war.
Yeah,
We might get a
imagine
war.
Simon Harris starting a war. On accident, Ben.
I've always wanted to achieve this, and I'm very excited to bring
Get
war
this,
to Ireland.
get this
I'm
old
looking
war
forward to
going
it.
now.
Yeah,
with
get
my
this old
cousin
war going.
Reinterpretation.
And as despots have said for years, you ain't seen nothing yet.
So not a bad Simon Harris, actually.
Yeah.
It's a bit more niche than Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I mean, look, we'll get them all, Michael, before the end of the episode.
Benjamin,
But
who's
yeah.
the next president?
So one of the earliest examples that we saw after that, Michael, is bizarre, and the first we see on screen is none other than young Beatrix Boop.
Beatrix Boop. Betty Boop to her friends. Betty Boop surely couldn't be president, Benjamin. She's a woman.
So this is pretty interesting, right? So this is an animated short film. It's a Fleischer cartoon because Fleischer was knocking those out back then, and Boop was the main character in each of them. And in 1932, they issued Betty Boop for president.
All right.
And it's a satirical cartoon, and in it, Betty Boop campaigns on a populist platform. And what it primarily does, Michael, is it works as a piece of satire because it's pointing a finger at the leadership throughout the Great Depression for the United States, and it's kind of underlying the awful leadership choices that were taken during that period.
Benjamin, I've actually got a bit of satire of the leadership of the United States during the Great Depression. Would you like to see it?
Yes, go on.
Here we go. We're ready?
Oh, very good. For the audio listeners in the room, ladies and gentlemen, Michael is now looking about a room with his hands playfully shrugging at the air to indicate that
Exaggerate a bit
perhaps-
more.
Oh, very good. That's a high shrug. Well done, Mick. It indicates, ladies and gentlemen, indicates that perhaps there was no leadership during the Great Depression.
Yeah. Maybe they didn't know what they were about.
Maybe they didn't. No, ladies and gentlemen, because America's divining compass, the stock market, had crashed.
Take that, America. We're really taking America down today, Ben. This is great.
Oh, they'll really feel it in the morning, Michael. They'll really feel it in the morning. But what this cartoon was designed to do, essentially, was skewer that particular leadership, particularly from Franklin D. Roosevelt himself.
Franklin the Roosevelt.
Yeah, to his friends on Moore Street, Franklin D. Roosevelt. But come here to me, or Rosie Frank, as they called him.
Rosie Frank. That's the best fake name we've ever made up for someone in this whole podcast.
But yeah, so she campaigned on a fairly particular platform, which was she promised relief from high taxes and social injustice.
Oh.
And she is faced off against a very particular opponent, Michael, that actually feeds into your wonderful bit of pantomime earlier and the empty shrug.
Oh.
Her opponent is none other than Mr. Nobody.
Who's that, Ben?
And Mr. Nobody is essentially a broomstick with a mouth, Michael, who keeps making lots of empty promises and, nothing to show for them. And Betty Boop actually campaigns on a platform of, I'm going to sort everyone out. We're going to bring in tax rates for rich folks. We're going to do all this. And she essentially, Michael, campaigns on a socialist platform.
Really? Not up with miniskirts.
No, not up with mini skirts as one. Down with Minnie Mouse, up with mini skirts, ladies and gents. That's not the platform, Michael. Not the platform
shocked.
at all. Yeah, I too was taken aback. But she does make actual promises and make speech. And Betty Boop leads this razzle-dazzle campaign of, I'll bring back booze, I'll end fucking prohibition, I'll fucking get everybody on board.
Get
she
everybody drunk as a
wins.
fucking skunk.
I get everyone drunk as a fucking skunk, baby. But it's everybody, and that's what makes it socialist. And what's interesting there...
Even the children.
Even the kids, everybody's doing it. But come here to me, Michael. What's interesting is she wins in this strange alternative campaign, and Betty Boop becomes president in 1932 and runs on a socialist platform. But that's the first example, Michael, of an on-screen U.S. fictional president.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Is it?
How mad is that?
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Who's her running mate? Is it J.D. Vance?
I can't. I don't. JD. No. That
That's
was this year, Michael.
That's the name I know. I don't know who he is.
But speaking of populist platforms, Michael,
Yes.
and speaking of Donald Trump's playbook, there's a novel that gets mentioned quite a bit when we talk about this topic, and it's called It Can't Happen Here. And it's by a guy called Sinclair Lewis. That came out 3 years later than Betty Boop for President, and it came out in 1935.
God, a book.
A book, no less, Michael. A book, no less. And this is one of what we can now recognize as one of the most prophetic pieces of literature in the biz.
Go on.
So, It Can't Happen Here, as the title might suggest, is a speculative look at the rise of dictatorships in the United States. Now,
Oh.
remember that one of the most dangerous things that can happen is that someone says, oh, well, that kind of thing couldn't happen here.
Yeah, and then it does.
Because you're almost guaranteed, Michael, to tempt fate and cause that exact thing, whatever it may be, to happen here.
That is entirely untrue, Benjamin.
No, it isn't.
That
I
is
said I'd never do a
magical-
fucking podcast, and here I fucking am.
That is magical thinking.
I'm
You have
fucking
just applied-
stuck here, Michael.
You've just applied magical thinking to real world politics. This is why I'll never vote for you, you son of a bitch.
Michael, tear up the fucking contract you have for my soul, you son of a bitch. Release me. But yeah, so it centers around a character called Buzz Windrip.
Mm.
I gotta say, Michael, Windrip, great fucking name,
name.
for a
Great
fucking
name.
fake president.
Yeah.
Buzz as well is that kind of thing. And I think what's happening is that Buzz Windrip is supposed to be a populist who's appealing to people with his fun, cool name like Buzz instead of Theodore. Fucking
Oh, yeah.
Theodore.
Like Teddy, yeah.
Or Teddy Roses to his pals. But come here to me. In this, he rises to power very, very quickly by being a demagogue. He wields a lot of great speeches to great effect, and he is constantly promising a return to American greatness. That's his
Make
platform.
America great again in a lot of senses.
Yeah, he's pretty much promising to make America great again
Oh, yeah.
if he wins.
But, Benjamin, here's the problem.
Yeah.
In 1935, America hadn't been great yet.
Well, there's an argument, Michael, that yet shouldn't be there.
All right.
There's an argument to be made. Oh, we got them again, Michael. Fucking skewered.
Take them down again. We're
That's
going to
gonna
go
be
to
our new-
jail for
That's going to be our
America
new
abuse.
soundboard. Skewered. We're going to end up on a watch list, I think, Michael. I think we're
It's all
pretty
right. At
much...
least someone's watching us then.
People don't watch this podcast. We're
No.
fine. But obviously, he gets into power, Michael. He immediately dissolves Congress, imposes strict controls on the media, and stifles opposition. He emphasizes extreme nationalism and the removal of un-American influences. Now, this would prove to be prophetic in quite a few different ways. First of all, Sinclair Lewis wrote this in reaction to the rise of extremism in Germany at the time.
Sounds a little bit like old mate Hitler, doesn't it?
Yeah, good old mate Hitler. Old mate Adolf. Yeah, it does sound a bit like that. And that's what he was kind of warning against, because there was, of course, a huge push towards what was called America First then, Michael. And they were essentially an American Nazi party that wanted to align themselves with Hitler's rising government.
I don't know how big the American Nazi Party were, but there was also an America First nationalism where these European problems are none of our business.
These European problems ain't none of our concern. Scram, Europe!
Sandy, get me my Coors Light. What am I doing? It wasn't. That was anachronistic.
What was that?
It was anachronistic.
America's beer during the war. Coors Light.
Coors Light.
The refreshing taste of, I don't know, fuck
The
knows.
refreshing
But it-
taste of staying out of it and minding our own business.
But there were a few different things that happened here, Michael. And when you read the book today, it actually it seems fairly close to how Donald Trump gained power in 2016 and how he's kind of done it again in 2024. But one of the things that it really predicted was the rise of McCarthyism post World War II and that idea of un-American activities.
Yeah, don't be at them if you're American.
Don't be fucking at them.
Benjamin,
Shitbags. Yeah.
one of my favorite ever interviews is, you ever see an interview where the Beatles are being interviewed and someone says, people have accused your haircuts of being un-American? And John Lennon says, well, that's because we're British.
I mean, lads.
He might have been a prick, but he was on the money there.
He might have been a prick, but he was on the fucking money, boys.
Yeah.
He was on the fucking money.
Anyway,
So,
Ben, does he get assassinated? What happens to him?
I can't. Oh, don't ask me stuff like that. He gets deposed, I think.
Does he?
Let's find out. Let's look it up here quickly.
Well, go to the next president while you look it up. Who's next?
No, Michael, I have to look it up. Fine. I'll
No,
go to
the
next
listeners
one.
don't want to watch you looking stuff up.
All right, fine.
Who's this fella?
So, Michael, this is probably one of the early fictional American presidents within comic books.
Oh, I thought this was Prez from the Fugees.
Oh, I thought this was Perez Hilton from.
Oh, I thought this was President Trump. No, that's not a
Yeah.
joke. That's actually what it's short for.
No, that's just life.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just real life, gang. That's just real life.
Who's this fella?
But Prez is an interesting one. Prez, Michael, was a young, cool, hip president, and this comic came out in 1973.
Yes.
And it's pretty interesting. It's a commentary on the U.S. Constitution being amended to allow people under 21 to vote.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. The ruination of
brains
us all, Michael.
The brains aren't fully formed, Benjamin. They shouldn't be allowed to have opinions, let alone vote.
So the voting age in America, Michael, had been 21, and that amendment came about as a result of people being sent to Vietnam under the age of 21, but not being able to vote on whether or not that was something they wanted to do.
Yeah, I'd like to vote against this, please.
Hi there. I really don't want to go to a jungle and be shot, please. Thank you. Shocking stuff what those Americans wouldn't do. How dare those young men go against their own fucking deaths.
Leo Varadkar said he was going to send me to Vietnam, Ben, and I went, oh, lovely.
Oh, that'd be nice. He probably would have just sent you on a diplomatic mission.
Yeah, a junket, he said.
A junket.
Jolly, I believe, were the exact word he used.
Good old-fashioned junket, jolly. But yeah, so Joe Simon and Jerry Grandinetti are the creators of this, Michael.
How
And
many
he's
men were there, Ben? Was that 4 different men? Joe, Simon, and Jerry. 3 brothers. Joe, Simon, and Jerry Grandinetti.
Yeah, 3
The
bros.
Grandinetti bros.
And they created a teen president. Because they had a strong bond.
That's the
But
best joke I've ever done.
it was pretty solid. Pretty solid, Michael. So this comic came out in 1973. And it was all about, again, we talked a little bit about how certain fictional presidents reflect their time. You know, the Betty Boop for president was a kind of disgust with the leadership, or lack, Michael, as your fantastic shoulders have suggested with their shrugging. The lack of leadership that was in the United States during the Great Depression. The likes of Windrop was fear of nationalism taking root wholesale in the United States. And this, Michael, was a reaction to the fucking Nixon era of El Presidentes.
Oh. He did nothing wrong, Ben. Is what he told
Richard
me.
Nixon did nothing wrong.
And he's definitely
lads.
not a crook, Benjamin. That's
I
the two things I
believe.
know about Richard Nixon.
I believe. Hold on, I have Richard Nixon here, Michael.
Oh, very good. Now, you're putting a lot on this being a good impression, so go for it, Ben.
I am not a crook.
You're very good. Straight out of The Simpsons.
And yeah, well, that's all we've got, Michael.
That's
But of
all
course,
we've got, Benjamin. We're
that's all
Irish.
we've got, Michael. I only know anything thanks to The Simpsons. But Michael, come here to me.
What is it?
Nixon was president from 1969 to 1974. So this came out in 1973, Michael, and it was a cry, Michael, for a breath of fresh air from the fucking scandalous nature of the American presidency. Richard Nixon and the Watergate tapes, Michael, was the end of the concept of the United States president as a good moral position.
Yeah, who would have believed it anyway, though?
Now, again, Michael,
What?
Americans for years had been saying, couldn't happen here.
Couldn't happen here. We would never have a crook for president.
And Michael, famously, in all of history and reality, you should never say that, because when you do say that, Michael, the fairies that live in the air will come
the
down
fairies,
and
yeah.
they'll make it.
Yeah. Magical thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly
You
what it is.
actually caused Donald Trump to get elected, Ben, because you said to me 4 years ago, well, at least that's over. And I said, Ben, I don't give a fuck. And you said, no, it's over and it'll never happen again. And little fairies, Benjamin, they heard you. I'm not the kind of fairies that Trump wouldn't like. The kind of fairies that live in Ireland.
So yeah, I mean, look, it's my fault that Donald Trump is president.
Yeah.
Essentially, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, come here to me.
What?
Prez was this kind of burst of, I suppose, youthful optimism that things might get a little better after this. So, not only was the voting age in this fictional world of DC Comics dropped to 18, but so too was the running age
Oh,
for
yeah.
presidents. And it's it's kind of bizarre. So this this character, Michael, is very, very interesting. He grew up in a small town called Steadfast.
Oh, good name.
And Steadfast is a town filled with clocks,
Mm.
right? And none of the clocks, Michael,
Tell at the same time.
tell the same time. They go off all throughout the day. But young Rickard
Dickie Prez.
got worried that people wouldn't know the right time to go and vote.
Oh.
So he went through the town of Steadfast, Michael, and fixed every last clock in the town.
That's what the president should do.
That's what the
president-
president should do,
The
Michael.
president should go and solve people's individual problems.
Now, Michael, in that classic 70s rag to riches storyline, of course the media took notice of this clock-fixing hero.
Yes, they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would. Who doesn't love a good fixed clock, Michael? That most hated slogan of even a broken clock is right twice a day. No! I say
Fix
it
it.
should be right all the time.
Fix the clock. Get Skylar in from Heroes.
Get Skylar in from Heroes, have him mend those clickety clocks. But come here to me. What happens is this is publicized in a bit of a Kardashian fashion, and people fucking love him. Look at
I
this
vote for
young man fixing clocks. It's not even his fucking job.
It's not even
Aw.
his job. Fuck off and get a job, you little prick.
So one of my favorite things about this, Michael, is there's a strange villain in this comic called Mr. Smiley.
He's a smiley face man. He's like the smiley face logo from now ubiquitous, but less ubiquitous then.
Yeah, we now know him as sorry, it's Boss Smiley. It's not Mr. Smiley. It's Boss Smiley.
That's
Michael.
even worse. That has racist overtones as well.
And Michael, he's a hoodlum. He's a hoodlum. He's a hoodwinker. He's a gangster. And he sees this young man, Michael, and he says, "I'm gonna make this guy my presidential candidate."
Oh,
And then when that naive little sap is in the office, I'm gonna pull his strings.
oh, I bet she doesn't fall for it though.
James Gunn, if you would like someone to voice Boss Smiley in a non-racist manner and just a bit of a silly gangster manner, give me a call.
Yeah,
Give me a
just
shout.
get Ben in.
I'll just come and do that. That'll be grand. But anyway, Michael, luckily, this is my favourite bit of this. Luckily, young Prez Rickard
That's his
meets
name.
he meets a young Native American man
Oh, as you do. Yep.
called Eagle Free.
Oh yeah.
Now,
And
Michael,
is that-
there's a
A free eagle, or there are no eagles, as in this country is eagle free.
A bit like Robert W. Chambers' seminal short story.
Yeah.
The Repairer of Reputations. Is that Jew free or Jew free? But come here to me.
I don't like that joke, Ben. That's too close to the line for me. I'm not sure what you truly believe there.
Oh, I think this is the one that is going to get us cancelled. I'm not
that's fine.
sure.
We
I
didn't
don't
write
know.
it. We didn't write it, and we
I don't know
don't
if we
support
can
it.
get out of this. But Eagle Free makes Prez Rickard hip to the perils of Boss Smiley. And
Wow.
Prez Rickard goes, "Fuck you, Boss Smiley," but it's the 70s.
Yeah.
And he says, "You're a jive turkey, man.
Yeah, jazz off, I think he says.
Jazz off." And he goes on to win the election by himself as an independent candidate, Michael. And he becomes this naive, or not naive, but youthful, hopeful president. And he sorts out everything, Michael. And he takes on everybody as president. He makes Eagle Free the director of the FBI. Very important.
What? Like J. Edgar Hoover.
I'm not kidding. He has a fight with a legless vampire at one point.
Oh, yeah. The drunk vampire. Cassidy.
He also he also takes on a right-wing militia hell bent on taking over the capital on
Oh, yeah.
January 6th. Now I've only altered the details in one small part there, Michael.
They're a left-wing militia.
No, that's not it.
It's a lot of soy boys.
It's not on January 6th. That's the difference.
Oh.
But Michael, my favorite thing about that is the man who's leading that coup is the great grandnephew of George Washington himself.
Oh, very good. Real American patriotism.
Yeah, but anyway, that's what happened there, Michael. And then one of my favorite kind of twists on this, Michael. This guy should have been relegated to the fucking graveyard of obscure 70s comic book characters for Grant Morrison to one day dig up and go, I'll do something with that. Aye, that'll be good.
Yeah, but then Neil Gaiman got there first, Grant. Suck an egg.
Neil Gaiman went through Grant Morrison's underbed comic book stash and snuck one out. And he actually reinterpreted this character in the Sandman universe.
Oh.
And it's kind of bizarre. So he tells an alternate history of this bizarre, already alternate history character. And in this, Michael, he gets kind of grounded by reality because what happens is Prez does become El Presidente.
Yeah, the Prez, yeah.
And he marries his childhood sweetheart, but his childhood sweetheart gets assassinated.
Oh, no use.
Yeah, no use at all, Michael. And that leads to young Prez becoming very disillusioned. And he begins to travel America, Michael, to try and find the soul of America. And Neil Gaiman does one of the most Neil Gaiman things ever. And he turns Boss Smiley not into a corrupt kind of racketeering gangster, but he's a kind of interdimensional being that has tied himself to Prez Rickard and wants him to walk around the universe with him as a guard. And then Morpheus, good old Sandman himself, comes along and he says, "Oi, Smiley." Smiley goes,
Jazz off.
Jazz off, Smiley. And then what happens is Prez Rickard is granted permission to walk through Americas in every dimension, helping Americans.
Oh, lovely.
It's fucking bizarre, Michael.
Very,
Fucking
very bizarre.
Bizarre.
When you said Neil Gaiman does one of the most Neil Gaiman things of all time, I thought you were going to say he has a BDSM relationship with someone he doesn't know very well, gets himself in trouble. I think that's probably the most Neil Gaiman thing of all time. Ben, who's next president?
Next president, Michael. I can't believe we're still on this. This has gotten some
Fucking
mileage,
get
Michael.
through it.
Michael, one of our favorites. One of our absolute favorites of the last 20 years.
Just about as well.
Just about. We're
the last
old as
20 years.
shit now, Michael.
President DeWayne, Elizondo, Mountain Dew, Herbert Camacho.
Oh, yeah. Played by young Terence Crews.
Young Terence Crews, who Terence Crews has not aged.
Not a drop.
No, not a drop of age has come off him. He's exactly the same in this as he is now. And he is the 100 and something president of the United States in the year 2505.
I can't remember the exact year, but you're not wrong.
It's,
I don't.
it's around then. It's about 500 years in the future when America, due to declining birth rates in the intellectual classes and increasing birth rates in the idiot classes, America has become an idiocracy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he is the president because he's the baddest MFer.
That you're ever going to meet.
And he is a pro fighter from the Thunder Slam or something like that, and a former porn star. But
That's very important.
they've a very liberal attitude to porn and sex in that future. So I
They do.
don't think you could hold that against him. I think that's
Probably not.
That's
Probably
no
not.
more or less exciting than bloody Barack Obama being a former senator.
Yeah, not to me, anyway.
Yeah, but Ben, in a movie based around everyone is dumb as a brick.
As
Everyone.
a brick.
So the dumb character of owner Luke Wilson gets sent forward in time. And he's dumb as a brick by modern standards.
He is.
But he's the smartest man in the world by future standards.
He's a fucking genius.
Absolute genius. But you know who else isn't an idiot in that film?
Go on.
President Camacho.
Nah, he's pretty click. He's pretty clever, ladies and gentlemen.
He's like, okay, he's macho and he's bombastic. But this whole film doesn't work if he's not a little bit clever and insightful. And
Yeah.
I think it almost nearly undermines its point, because I don't think he's supposed to be a hero in this, but he kind of is. He kind of saves the day.
It's that great peril of satire, isn't it? Where you make your character just a little too charismatic, and suddenly everyone's like, "Oh, he's not that bad. Come on now."
He's the best character in this. He's the only one to meet Not Sure and not mind that he talks in a funny gay way
Yeah.
and say, this guy is smart. Let's get him in. Like, that requires a leap of intelligence that no one else in the entire film is capable of making.
No one else seems to be capable of making it happen. Yeah, no, it's weird. Like he's a great for, and I think possibly worst thing, Michael, about
Yes.
Camacho is we're about 3 presidents away from him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even saying that as a joke. Like, I don't think America's that far from President Kim Kardashian. Like,
President-elect DeWayne "The Rock" Johnson.
oh, fuck, that'll be a dark day, won't it?
President-elect Kevin Hart. The only thing holding Kevin Hart back is he's too small.
He can't see above the podium, you
Can't
see.
see above the podium. He's only a little fella. But
Can't see above the podium.
this is a really weird film. It's a really, really weird film. I really enjoyed Idiocracy for years. But now I find it actually a bit of a hard watch.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a hard watch for the opposite reason than I used to think. Like, I think Idiocracy is one of the earliest indication that America was eating its own tail.
Yeah.
Because in Idiocracy, the idiots don't take over violently.
No.
Like, DeWayne Camacho is the best person they have to be
Yeah.
president at that time. He is a genuine good guy. But this film's attitude towards people with lower intelligence is so mean.
Yeah. It's really weird.
It's the kind of, it's nearly the first step in watching America divide itself and going, oh, is this what intellectual Americans think of other Americans? Oh
Yeah.
no. No wonder they're not voting for you. No wonder they're voting for the baddie. Because at least he doesn't think they're idiots.
Yeah.
You know, do you see where I'm coming from?
I
on
see
this?
where you're going with it. I see where you're going with it.
Ben, because I watched a couple of other things this week. A couple
Okay.
of more classic American hero American presidents, which were
Oh, yeah.
all the rage in the 90s. And let's just lump them all in together.
Oh, let's do it.
Lump them in. You've got every single president played by Harrison Ford. I don't remember Harrison Ford's name in Air Force One. President Jack something. President Jim McJimmity, he might as well be.
He's Jack Ryan.
He's not Jack Ryan. He is. He's more or less Jack Ryan, but he's not. He's President Jack Ryan. He's not Jack Ryan, Ben. If you're looking this up, I watched Air Force One yesterday.
No, it's Jack Ryan. He's Jack Ryan.
No, he's not Jack Ryan.
Sorry,
He
no,
may have-
Harrison Ryan.
Harrison Jackson. He
Jack
might as-
Ford.
Jack. His name's Jim. He might as well be Jack Ryan, but he's not Jack Ryan. But he is from that era. You know what the amazing thing about this? He's from that era of the American president is an American combat veteran who, in his case, he flew helicopter rescues in Afghanistan, in the first Afghanistan, not the more recent Afghanistan. It's exactly the same president as America is blessed to have in the 1997 classic Independence Day. These two films came out the same year, I think, or thereabouts.
It's the last hurrah of a good president.
And they have the same president.
Yeah.
They have a kind of just a tall white guy graying in his late 40s to early 50s with a
Not the
heroic... Go on.
kind of handsome that teens go for, but
No.
the kind of handsome your mum goes for.
Exactly, Benjamin.
Yeah.
Like a real J.D. Vance type character.
A real boo. Boo. Boo.
In Air Force One, he's a helicopter pilot and Medal of Honor recipient. And in Independence Day, Bill Pullman or Paxman is a
He's Pullman.
Bill Pullman or Paxman. He's a decorated fighter pilot. And this is what I grew up thinking the American president was. I grew up thinking that the American president was some sort of statuesque white guy war hero. Like, Benjamin, I grew up thinking Bill Clinton would probably kick my ass. I tell you what, he bloody wouldn't.
He wouldn't.
He wouldn't.
He wouldn't. That wouldn't happen.
Not a chance. George Bush,
Not a chance.
fold like an ironing board.
Not a bother.
Not a bother
Not
to
a
any of
bother.
us. Yeah, so that was a really interesting period of kind of generically handsome older guys with a military history. And the last president I want to talk about before we move on is the summation of that. It's President Ellis from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The most boring and basic president in the most exciting fictional universe possibly that has been committed to big screen in our generation. And I think on purpose.
Oh, go on. Oh, do
Because-
go on.
Because what's a defining feature of President Ellis from the MCU, Ben?
He's white.
He's a white fella. He looks like that era of president.
Yeah, he does,
He looks like that era of fictional president, the George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, but a war hero. He's that president. And I think he was chosen quite cannily by Marvel because they knew that the point of this was back in 2008 to 2012, they knew that the point of this was to make money.
Yeah.
And President Ellis is the most, here's a normal president. Don't worry about his politics. Is he a Republican? Is he a Democrat? What's his stance on immigration? What's his stance on American imperialism? Who knows? Who cares?
Who knows? Get
Don't-
out of here.
Don't worry yourself. Look, what's Falcon doing? What's Falcon doing? Let's look at that.
What's he
instead.
up
That'd
to?
be good.
What's
won't it?
this?
What's bloody Scarlet Witch up to? Don't worry about foreign policy or who's in power.
Forget about it.
So anyway, that's
Forget
President Ellis, the most boring president who's ever been on screen.
the most boring, least memorable president who's ever been on screen. Do you know what's not least memorable to me, Michael?
Go on.
Fucking comments left on our TikTok this week to a
go
very
on.
popular Venom costume origin fucking TikTok.
Oh yeah, you got reamed out of it, Benjamin, because you imagined you had one of your famous mental breakdowns and imagined that what's his name again?
Venom.
No,
Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane. You imagined briefly that Todd McFarlane had created Venom, or certainly
Now-
accidentally implied that.
Now, Michael,
go on.
you come here to me, right?
Yeah, go on.
I had so many fucking comments. Admittedly, some of them were fantastic. Look, a note of appreciation to some of our commenters because they did fill me in on a little bit more interesting history behind Venom, right? And for that, great stuff.
That's what the
Good
internet's
to
for.
see. Thank you very much. Appreciated those comments. On the other hand, Michael, I was inundated with comments like, these guys know nothing. And Michael, it's simply not true. People went out of their way to bring up facts that had no bearing on the creation of the character of fucking Venom.
Right, go on. Air your grievances.
So, Michael,
What?
Michael,
What?
Michael,
What is it?
I got very upset. Anyway,
You
come here
did.
to me. First of all, people were saying,
my
"Oh,
God,
you didn't
look at
even
these
mention
notes."
David Michelini." What?
Look at these notes.
Look at these notes. Look at my God.
Oh
so
my
mad.
God, this is going to be a while. I'm going to make a cup of tea while you go through this.
Loads of people, Michael, said to me, "Oh, you didn't even mention David Michelini."
Oh, they did it
And
in
I
that
went-
voice, did they, Ben?
That's the exact voice.
All right.
They said, "Oh, you didn't even mention him, the writer." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't mention him because we were talking about the creation of Venom as a visual concept.
Oh, all right.
That's what we were talking about." And Michael, I did a little bit of digging because one of our commenters helpfully pointed out and said, "Did you know Venom was supposed to be a woman in the beginning?" And I think I did a little digging, Michael, and I
Yeah.
found out that David Michelini had a very different pitch for the character originally.
Go on.
So the host for Venom was going to be a female,
No.
a woman.
Yeah, a female, as you call them in our private lives.
Oh no!
That's the way you say it
Um,
usually.
Yeah, but a woman that was about to go into labor, and her
Oh.
husband was trying to get a cab so they could get to the hospital on time. Because in America, you can't call an ambulance to see you; you'll end up in debt.
End up in
and
debt,
on
yeah.
the streets.
Unless the
So
president
it's-
bails you out.
So that's actually a hyper-realistic origin story so far. And then it turns out that Spider-Man was having a good old-fashioned scrap with a villain called the Living Monolith, which is a great fucking name.
Yep.
And Michael, he ended up giving the Living Monolith a bit of a sock in the jaw, and the Living Monolith did a little bit of a scrap back and hit the poor woman's husband, killing him instantly.
Yeah. Classic Drax the Destroyer origin.
So this dramatic, traumatic event drove the woman into labor immediately.
Classic women.
She lost the baby. This is so fucking dark, Michael.
Yeah, go
She
on.
lost the baby. And then she goes into a catonic state, Michael, right? And passes out. When she finally comes to, her hatred for Spider-Man is so pure because she blames him for having such a careless scrippity scrap on the streets with the Living Monolith that her hatred acts as a beacon to the symbiote, which has just been broken up with by Spider-Man, and the two bond. Now, Michael, my favorite thing about this is the next part of the pitch was, and that'll be good because the symbiote is a woman too, and she's been jilted by Spider-Man, and that's why she hates him.
I
First
knew
of
that's
all,
what it was. That's what it
brutal
always
stuff.
is. Classic women.
But Michael, my favorite bit about this is that it was rejected by one of the editors at Marvel, a guy called Jim Salicrup, who liked the idea but asked him to change the character to a male. And the reasoning was very solid, Michael, for the
Too many women.
1980s. He said that readers would have a tough time believing that a woman could go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man.
I wouldn't believe it personally, obviously.
Oh, fuck me, Michael. Oh, Jesus.
I wouldn't believe it. How would she then?
Oh,
What if she
the
had a
alien-
period? She wouldn't have a hope then.
But Michael, the second thing that really chapped my cheeks this week
Yes.
on that fucking comment is a bunch of people got in touch saying, no, actually Venom was created in a competition.
Yeah,
And
he
Michael,
wasn't. He was just the guy kept hassling them.
that's a fucking lie. Randy Schuler,
Hmm?
noted comic book fan Randy Schuler,
Yeah, yeah.
entered a contest to change Spider-Man's costume.
Oh.
And he pitched a black costume that could go stealth mode so that Spider-Man could hide in the shadows a little bit better. Now, you listen to me. Where you gone?
Stealth
Come back.
I'm in stealth mode.
Oh, you're... Didn't expect that. That was very good, Michael. Well played. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael has ducked down below the camera if you're listening in audio format. He's all about the physical actions today, ladies and gentlemen. He's a physical tour de force today, ladies and gentlemen. You really should subscribe to us on YouTube. It's linked below in the description. And he recounted his tale, young Randy Schuler, to CBR, or Comic Book Resources, back in 2007, and he said, I thought it would be cool if Spidey needed to upgrade his powers and his look, so I came up with this idea that Reed Richards had made a new costume for Spidey using some unstable molecules that the FF costumes are made of. The unstable molecules would flow into Peter's pores and allow him to cling to walls better. I think my idea was to increase his sticking power by 25% or something. Now, you listen to me, internet commentators.
Benjamin, that happens to me in the summer.
It's called sweat, you fucks. You listen to me, internet commenters.
All right, yeah.
That has fucking nothing to do with Venom. Nothing. In fact,
Yeah.
the fucking story was bought off Schuler by then Marvel editor Jim Shooter, who paid him $220 for this. Okay? For the idea, not a character. Right? And that is how later on he would become Venom.
Venom.
Randy Schuler had fuck all to do with Venom, and I won't have it. He wanted Spider-Man to be fucking stickier. Get wrecked.
Oh, if only Spider-Man was stickier. Benjamin, speaking of getting wrecked, though, hilariously, when Air Force One came out in 1997, I'm stealing this joke from somewhere. I don't know. I've just realised.
Go for it, Michael.
I just realised that this isn't an original thought. I don't know where I'm stealing this joke from. But anyway, when I watched Air Force One, Harrison Ford was age appropriate to play the president in 1997, and now he's age appropriate to play president in 2024 because he plays president in Captain America.
Captain America: Brave New World. Or what if we did Winter Soldier again? Would you love us then?
Would you love us if we did Winter Soldier? You liked that one, didn't you? You liked the Manchurian Candidate? It's that again.
It's that again. We've done it again, but this time the Manchurian Candidate is black.
Yeah, and this time the Manchurian Candidate is Harrison Ford being the Red Hulk.
Being the Red Hulk. Oh, Michael, this looks like a fucking trippy piece of fucking weird Marvel nostalgia for its own movies. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know
it's great,
what this
isn't it?
is.
It's great. They've even done like weird split screens and stuff to remind you of old comic book movies and 70s espionage thrillers.
Oh, Michael, this is weird. I mean, look, some of it is pretty interesting, right? There are some interesting things here. I think they're leaning on a little bit of social commentary with young bloody Sam Wilson having to deal with the fact that the president of the United States doesn't respect him because he's a black Captain America. Or as Harrison Ford says, you're not Steve Rogers.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what though.
He's fucking not.
Yeah, and he's not William Hurt.
He's no William Hurt, because sadly, William Hurt passed away.
He did. It's an odd bit of casting, isn't it? I'm not sure how I feel about upcasting to someone more famous.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? They didn't even get a good impressionist to come in and give it a whirl with some CGI. Because if it had just been the Red Hulk the whole time, they could have gotten Ross Marquand in yet again.
Just get Ross in again. Or even got in like another older actor who isn't immediately going to jump off the screen of this Harrison Ford.
It was weird. Harrison Ford is a very big name to suddenly be attached to a Marvel project. That's all
As
I'm
an
saying.
existing character, it's a bizarre choice. Like, how are they
Bizarre.
going to address the fact that it's not only is it not William Hurt anymore, it's now, of all people, Harrison fucking Ford.
Harrison fucking Ford. They're not even remotely similar
No.
in cadence, build, physical
No.
appearance.
Harrison Ford isn't going to play this like Bill Hurt either.
Yeah, he's not going to do it. He's going to do it as Harrison Ford being
Yeah.
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford
Because
about
that's
the
how he
place.
acts. Lads.
Yeah.
He's done this before. He's just going to be the same president he was back then.
Yeah. But older.
Look, this is interesting. There's definitely some social commentary. But the most interesting thing to me, Michael, is that Isaiah Bradley is back in it.
Is it interesting though? Or did you
It is
have
to
to
me.
watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, one of the most middling TV shows in history, to even
history.
care?
Look, Isaiah Bradley is interesting for a bunch of different reasons, Michael. First of all, he's the first successful super soldier serum recipient in the comics, as is exposed in the classic postmodern comic book Captain America Truth, Red, White, and Black from 2003.
First for now. They might retcon that again soon.
Oh, they'll retcon it again in 2 days. It'll be grand. But Isaiah Bradley is kind of the dark side of American military experimentation. And it is written by a guy called Robert Morales, who was paralleling something known as the Tuskegee syphilis study. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Michael.
Oh, that's where they gave black soldiers syphilis.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. So between 1932 and 1972, Michael, that's a 40-year study. The United States intentionally infected nearly 400 African American men with syphilis to see the effects. And that's just dark. And in this, a very similar story is plotted where Isaiah Bradley is among many African American soldiers who are given super soldier serum to study the effects. And naturally, Michael, it's not the reformed Safe for Whites version that Steve Rogers gets hooked up to his veins. It's the rough and tumble, untested, not FDA approved version. And it ends up killing a bunch of people.
Benjamin, did you just because you might get added there, did you say they purposefully infected soldiers with syphilis? I don't think they did.
I didn't say soldiers. I said black
Oh, they
men.
weren't soldiers, but they didn't purposely infect them either. They didn't treat them.
Oh, is that what it was?
I mean, it's morally not that much better, but just,
Yeah, I'd say not.
I mean, if people are going to at us about who designed Venom, something that's actually more important is probably worth getting right.
Do you know, Michael, in this grim world, I don't think anyone's going to at us over an actual real-life issue of racism.
No.
I think they'd rather at us over Venom.
At us about who created
I
Venom.
think that's the reality we live in, Michael, and I think that's kind of sad. But you're absolutely right. Thank you for the on-air correction. It is appreciated.
Yeah, they weren't soldiers, I don't
I was wrong there, ladies and gentlemen. They weren't intentionally infected. They refused treatment. Is that correct?
They weren't
correct.
refused treatment. They were monitored, but they were never told that they were only being monitored, I think. Look, Benjamin, I only half remembered this from my own studies, so I quickly looked it up, and there's no point reading through a Wikipedia article on air. Anyway, look,
Anyway,
this looks
look, he's
weird.
back.
This looks
He's back.
weird. I don't know how they're going to get around the fact that Sam Wilson is a normal man, and he's going to fight a Hulk.
No, but
because-
Michael, he's got wings.
He's got wings, yeah. I mean, how
got
did his legs
wings.
not break when he does that supersonic landing? He's got normal man's legs.
Michael, look, he's just an ordinary normal man. Just
Just
an
an
innocent
ordinary
man.
normal fella in there, Ben.
Yeah. Look, Michael, the other thing that I didn't really understand watching this was the Red Hulk looks a bit iffy, doesn't he? It was just like, what happened? Did the budget go on the wings? What?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Probably.
What's
Probably.
that? Why is there no shadow on Red Hulk's body? What's going on?
Well, I'll
What
fix
is
it in
that?
post. Anyway, Ben, look, we've got about 30 seconds left.
Jesus.
Thunderbolt's also got a trailer. Looks fine. Looks better, actually.
Looks better than fucking thing. It looks like the most interesting thing Marvel has put out in quite a while.
Yeah, bit of banter. Bit of
Bit of
everyone just
banter.
punching and kicking, which I like.
Michael, it's got Bill Pullman's son in it.
Bill Paxman.
Lewis Pullman. Lewis Pullman is bloody Bob or Sentry.
Yeah. I
That's
thought we
Bill
knew that.
Pullman's son.
Yeah, I knew that. Did you not know that?
No, I know, but it's just nice that we have so many tie-ins to presidents this
Oh,
week.
Bill Pullman or Paxman. Very good.
We're normally nowhere near this coherent, Michael. It
Yeah,
normally
yeah.
doesn't work out that way. Look, Florence Pugh is in it. I'm going to watch the fuck out of it for that reason alone. Love Florence. What a woman. Fucking
And the machine.
have at.
I'll watch anything with, what's that? The Russian fella. What's his name? David.
Bloody David Herbert.
David Harbour, great stuff.
Yeah,
Old
he'll be
Santa.
fun.
He played Old Santa in something. That's hilarious. I like the fact that they're all just punching and kicking. What's the Thunderbolts asterisk, Ben? Are we going to find out a couple of days before that this isn't called Thunderbolts? When is that asterisk going to come into effect?
Never.
I'm dying to find out.
Yeah, they've really got us.
Has got me.
Kevin Feige is kicking himself that he hasn't put punctuation after every single Marvel title for the last 10 years. He's
Captain
like,
America
is this
4?
all it
Question mark?
fucking took? Is this all I needed? Hawkeye /
Yeah. Fucking great stuff. Spider-Man No Way Home. ... I think
I
that
could have
might
made
actually be what it is
so
called.
much money on
Money.
Venom bracket.
Parentheses.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom Cruise has come back. We don't have time to talk about it. Tom Cruise is coming back. He looks dead at the camera and says, I'm asking you to trust me one last time. We don't, Tom.
But, Michael, that's it. If your grandfather said, look, just let me run down this hill full speed one last time, you'd be like, no, Grandad. No, Grandad. Go lie down.
Have a little
Stop
lie
that.
down. Think about the old days.
Trust me, grandson. No, Grandad. If you die on my watch, Mum will never forgive me. I'll get a
The
really shit
insurance.
present for Christmas.
The insurance alone. Think of the insurance.
The fucking cost. The amount of forms we had to sign to take you out of the home to live with us, Grandad. I'm not fucking throwing that away. That was ours.
It looks like Pom joins the team.
Is he going to... one of my favorite things, Michael, is that at one point in this trailer, the old handler from IMF turns around to him and goes, that's your flaw. You'll never sacrifice your allies, or something along those lines. And I went, well, hang on a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on now. Rebecca Ferguson died
She got
because he
killed.
made a decision.
Crammed her right in that fucking fridge.
He's quite happy to sacrifice her now.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hold on a second.
Hang on now. Yeah, Pom Klementov has joined the team. He'll probably sacrifice Haley Atwell for Pom Klementov in this one.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows,
Clementieff,
lads?
I think her name is.
Um,
Anyway, but that's it.
yeah, that's it. Look, fucking hell, Michael. We're busy.
So
that
we've
was
got time
a
for it.
chock-a-block episode. Right, ladies and gentlemen, come here to me.
What? What is it? What?
If you've made it this far for some bizarre reason and you
What's wrong
don't
with you?
think we're an enemy of the state in the United States, which we might now be, why don't you give us a review wherever you listen?
Oh.
Yeah, just do it there on Spotify. It'll take 2 seconds. Dos segundo. Go
very
for it.
good.
We'll wait.
All right, you done?
Did you do it?
You better have done it.
Ah, good stuff. Okay, so come here to me. Ladies and gentlemen, there's other things you can do as well. You can get in touch with us. You can find us on the interwebs at www.showmrabeog.com, SEOMORABEAG.com.
It means tiny room in Irish, kind of.
Sort of a little bit. Come here to me. You can also find us on our other website, www.sherlockshirlisten.acast.com.
No, we don't. They both point to the same place. Remember, Ben? That's the whole point.
No, they don't. Don't
Oh,
be
they're
silly.
supposed to.
That'd be efficient. Come here to me.
What?
You can also follow us on Instagram. It's linked below in the description.
Follow us on Instagram. Get on there.
You can also follow us
Criticize
on
Ben. Or contradict
Criticize
him. He hates
me. If you leave me a comment on TikTok, I will literally rant about you for at least 10 minutes on air. It's
You will.
great stuff all together. Head down there. Follow us on TikTok as well, because we're growing there again, Michael. We've had a sudden burst. Over fucking 30 followers in a week.
that. Oh, my God. Just
I
'cause
know.
You said one wrong thing about Venom.
Ah, Michael, you imagine the amount of wrong things I'm going to say about America in this week's episode. I can't wait to see what happens. But come here to me, Michael. That's about it. That's all you can do, really, to support us. That's it.
That's all.
That's it.
That's all.
Yeah. So that'll be it. But ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to get in touch with us directly and be part of a fun community that debates things, join the Discord. Hop up on it. It's down below there.
Hop up on it. Point out anything that we got wrong.
Yeah, and then, ladies and gentlemen, you can also vote on the quintessential Farscape, which is what we're doing
Ooh.
next week.
Oh, fantastic.
Ooh, fan dabby doozy.
All right. See you next week. Talk about that.
Goodbye.